Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to, really pull back the curtain on people who didn't just work in an industry, but actually shaped it, like fundamentally changed its course. Today, we've got quite a story. It's about this guy who, operating from, believe it or not, a kind of estate in the Netherlands, built more than just a company. He really sparked a global shift, altering, agriculture and culture around one specific plant. So let's unpack this. Our mission today is to explore the life and impact of Nevil Schoenmakers. You often hear him called the king of cannabis seeds. Or dive into some great material, excerpts from Nevil Schoenmakers, king of cannabis seeds, via Nug Notes plus other insights you've brought in. We're not just recounting his life story yet, huh? We want to understand how. How did one person with this really unique vision, almost like a scientific obsession, manage to completely reshape an industry from its genetic core right up to global distribution? Honestly, it's a fascinating look at focused, bold innovation.
It really is. And what's so compelling, I think, is that there isn't just a story about cannabis, it's deeper. It's about innovation itself, about entrepreneurship, especially when you're operating in these legally gray areas. And it's definitely about the power of genetics, how they can shape culture, business, even debates about freedom, understanding how one guy's foresight, his methodical approach could have such long-lasting ripples, changing how people worldwide accessed and grew something that was, for so long, hidden away.
Yeah.
That's key to grasping Nevil's legacy. It's huge.
Yeah, that sets the scene perfectly. So Nevil's beginnings, he was born in Australia in 1956, Dutch parents. But then he makes this big move to the Netherlands in 76, and what jumps out right away is his early interest. It wasn't about using the plant, not primarily, it was genetics. Seriously, genetics. Apparently, he was deeply into breeding from a young age. Even, get this, parrots. It shows this wasn't like a casual hobby for him. It was a real systematic, almost scientific drive to understand breeding, understand traits.
Exactly. And that systematic, almost clinical viewpoint, that's absolutely crucial because it was so different for the cannabis scene back then. Totally groundbreaking, really. While maybe others were just focused on growing or, the effects, Nevil came at it like a serious geneticist, like someone breeding prize-winning roses or orchids. He treated cannabis as a legitimate subject for genetic exploration, worth careful study, meticulous crossing, detailed records. This mindset, this focus on isolating, understanding, improving the plant's traits, that was the foundation for everything he did later. It wasn't just farming, it was applied genetics.
Okay, so he has this deep genetic understanding, and then he takes this, audacious next step. Sometime between 1983 and 84, he founds the Seed Bank of Holland. And you have to realize this wasn't just another seed seller. It was arguably the first real professional cannabis seed company operating at that kind of scale. He famously worked out of this Dutch estate, which people started calling the Cannabis Castle. Can you picture it? From this one spot, he's cataloging, breeding, stabilizing these new hybrids, and then systematically shipping them out to growers everywhere. He basically invented the blueprint for the industry from, this one semi-hidden base.
Right, and to really get the impact, think about what it was like before him. It was mostly unreliable clone swaps, right? Passed hand to hand, very hush-hush, zero consistency. If you wanted a specific strain, well, good luck. You needed connections, and even then, what you got was often questionable. No quality control, no real brands. Nevil changed all that. He brought science, transparency, professionalism, consistent, stable seeds with descriptions, a reliable source. This wasn't just selling stuff, it was building trust, setting standards, creating actual access in a market that was totally murky. He basically professionalized an underground trade, invented the modern seed industry, you could argue.
And he didn't just stay holed up in the Cannabis Castle either. He went big. He scaled globally using, for the time, a really bold tactic. Full-page ads in High Times magazine. I mean, think about the guts that took back then. Suddenly, those quiet underground clone deals, they're replaced by public catalogs. Anybody from the US to Europe could order stable, iconic strains. We're talking Skunk, Northern Lights, Haze. Direct access. It was like, boom, genetics for the people. And talking about genetics, he was on this relentless quest, building what you could only call a genetics vault. He was literally hunting down, buying, preserving critical strains, especially from California. Skunk, #1, different Haze lines, Northern Lights. These were the crown jewels. This wasn't just collecting seeds. It was like genetic conservation. And how he did it involved serious risk, moving cash, using networks. He knew these foundational genetics, these elite clones, were incredibly valuable for the future, the building blocks for everything.
Oh, absolutely critical. That vault was the engine room. And the genius part, it wasn't just collecting them, it was how he stabilized and then cleverly recombined these fundamental landrace genetics, the pure original strains from specific regions. He adapted them specifically for indoor growing, For HID lights, high-intensity discharge.
Right. Because before him, most strains were outdoor plants, basically.
Pretty much, or suited for, weaker indoor lights. Trying to grow them under powerful HIDs often didn't work well. Stress plants, low yields, unpredictable. Nevil engineered strains to thrive indoors under those lights. That's what really kicked off the whole indoor revolution in growing. His NL-Tag5 Haze Cross, for instance, became legendary. His signature, it showed he'd mastered creating potent, high-yielding strains perfect for controlled environments. For growers, this meant consistency, better quality, predictable harvests. Game changer.
And the world noticed, big time. By 1987, High Times, the voice of the culture back then, they officially named him the king of cannabis. That wasn't just hype. It reflected his actual dominance. Then from 88 to 90, his Seed Bank hybrids, they just kept winning cannabis cups, one after another. That cemented his reputation everywhere, from Amsterdam coffee shops to grow rooms across the planet. His seeds were the gold standard, period. But you know how it goes. Heavy is the head that wears the crown, right? All that success, all that visibility, it brought heat, serious heat. In 1990, the U.S. feds launched Operation Green Merchant, a huge crackdown. They went after hydro shops and, crucially, those mail-order seed businesses Nevil pioneered. The whole scene got very tense, and it led directly to Nevil being arrested in Australia on a U.S. warrant. Apparently, a distributor, Ray Kogo, cooperated heavily with the authorities. Turned informant, it got really serious. But in the end, the extradition attempt to the U.S. actually failed. He wasn't sent to face charges stateside. Lucky break, in a way.
Yeah, and that whole episode really highlights the immense risks the legal tightrope these pioneers walk, especially in industries that are legally complex. Nevil was building a global business for something federally illegal in his main market, the U.S. The pressure must have been unbelievable on him, his family, his whole operation. It's easy to forget now, but the early 90s. The U.S. war on drugs was intense, and Nevil, the king, he was target number one for seeds. The extradition failing was huge, obviously. But the psychological toll, the operational disruption, it definitely forced his hand, pushed him towards making some major strategic choices about his future, about protecting his work. It really underscores that tension between innovation and legal control.
Right. So under all that pressure, facing potentially huge legal battles, he makes this really critical decision. He decides to sell the seed bank. And importantly, he sells the genetics, the contents of that cannabis castle vault, to Ben Dronkers, the guy behind Sensi Seeds. Now, this wasn't just him cashing out to avoid trouble. It was smarter than that. It was strategic. It was about safeguarding that priceless genetic library he'd built. By merging it into Sensi Seeds, he made sure his hybrids would keep circulating, stay available through Dutch catalogs, and crucially be protected from being seized or lost. A really clever way to preserve his life's work while stepping back himself. But that wasn't the end of Nevil's story in seeds. Nope. In the late 90s, he comes back, makes a big return. He forms Mr. Nice Seed Bank. And get this, he partners with two other absolute legends, Shanti Baba, another master breeder, and Howard Marks. Yeah, the Howard Marks, Mr. Nice.
Wow, what a team up.
Right. A powerhouse trio. And from that collaboration came even more iconic strains, still famous today. Super Silver Haze, Black Widow, which, fun fact, was the original White Widow pheno. And of course, Nevil's Haze.
This just further cemented his place, didn't it? As a key architect of the modern hybrid landscape, his genius wasn't a one-off thing.
Absolutely. And those later ventures, Mr. Nice Seed Bank especially, really locked in his enduring influence. It showed his commitment wasn't just a phase. Because that genetic archive he curated, it didn't just vanish after the sale to Sensi. It continued to evolve and spread through both Sensi and Mr. Nice. It remains the foundational DNA, the rootstock for so many strains people grow and use today all over the world. Think about that lineage. So many popular, stable, potent varieties trace back to Nevil's work. His ability to first find, then stabilize, and finally ensure the preservation and distribution of those lines. It means the genetic diversity he unlocked decades ago is still shaping today's cannabis market. His work lived on and continues to. So when you boil it all down, what's the big takeaway here? What did Nevil Schoenmakers truly achieve? I think it comes down to three massive things. One, he industrialized access, took those rare, elite, clone-only plants and made them available as reliable seeds you could order by mail, like the Amazon of cannabis genetics, before Amazon too. He equipped the indoor grower. He specifically bred hybrids that thrived under HID lights, basically kicking off the modern era of indoor cultivation with its consistency and quality. And three, maybe the most lasting, that genetic archive he built and saved through Sensi and Mr. Nice. It's still the fundamental DNA behind countless strains today, a living legacy in plant form.
Couldn't agree more. He passed away sadly March 30th, 2019 in Western Australia. He was only 62. But his impact, It's just immense, from that cannabis castle mystique to all those cannabis cups. His work literally planted the seeds for generations of growers, and those catalogs he put out, they weren't just product lists, they were cultural documents. Wish lists, guidebooks, symbols for a whole global community finding its feet. He didn't just sell seeds, he shaped a phenomenon, set the benchmarks for quality and innovation that still resonate today.
That really is a powerful legacy. It leaves you thinking, doesn't it? Neville's story shows how these foundational steps, even in areas that seem niche or maybe controversial or underground at the time, how they can ripple out, define a culture, spark economies, build communities. Makes you wonder, who are the Nevil'S of today? Who's out there now, maybe working on the fringes in some other field, quietly laying the groundwork for something huge that we just don't see yet? Where's the next cannabis castle being built, and what future are its architects seeding? Something to chew on.